And that concert was what, 600,000 people? It was bigger than Woodstock,
Yeah, it was bigger than Woodstock. It's the biggest that's ever been, yeah. It was biggest for one reason, really, was that there was about 450,000 paying people, but there was a hill. It was a stupid place to have a festival. There was a hill by the side with another couple of 100,000 people on it who didn't have any money and didn't have tickets. The place was full, and they just burst the fence down. So then it became the biggest festival in the world, but it was mostly free. It ended up in chaos.
And the performers there were as big, if not bigger, than Woodstock, right?
Well, we were booked for Woodstock, and stupidly we're on some of the posters as being there, and we stupidly turned it down, and we played at another big festival, socialist festival in Paris, that we thought would probably be better. In the end, it didn't mean anything. But yes, I mean the original, the Who, Hendrix last ever performance and tape of Jimmy. Sorry,
Bob Dylan.
Yeah, no. I think it was Leonard Cohen. Bob Dylan was the year before, I think, and because there was 3 Isle of Wight festivals, the band Free, and Tull, and there were some great artists on. Yeah, fantastic. Richie Havens. Joey Mitchell.
Who's the most exciting group you've ever played with?
Ever played on the same bill with?
Yes.
Well, I think it would go back in time again, but there's a couple of people in like '69. We did a tour with a group called Poco, who were guys from Buffalo Springfield, the Byrds, and they were just immaculate.
Stephen Stills, Neil Young, offshoot, Buffalo Springfield.
Yes, I think it was Jim Messina in them.
Right.
And,
Kenny Loggins. Before
that's right. And Rusty Young.
He's right behind you, Kenny Loggins.
Hello. Oh, I know Kenny, yeah. He's nice.
A great guy.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah. And they were great. And the second one would be the Cream. We opened for them as well in the 60s on a long tour, on their farewell tour. And that was a baptism of fire for us because we hadn't played stadiums or anything. With Canned Heat, we weren't playing stadiums.
And finally, let's talk about when you do a concert, difference between doing it with strings and orchestrations behind you and doing it without. Is it that much harder to have an orchestra with you?
There's a discipline about working with Moody Blues and an orchestra that's very, very strict. You can't make a slip, and you're always on edge waiting for their cues, because their cues are much more important than ours are. And they're but people love that show, and we did it again in Zurich just last year for a private party. Would you imagine this? A guy had a private birthday
party. I wish I could afford it.
Yeah, and he booked a 90-piece orchestra, the Czech National Orchestra, and us. We did it together, and I was reminded how much I love the orchestra show, and I really look forward to doing it again. I'd love to come here in Vegas and do it.
It would be a great place to do it.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
Now that Vegas has changed a lot since you first started coming here. Yeah. At one time, it was kind of like, hey, if you're a rock star, I don't want to be in Vegas.
Yeah,
it's too plastic. It's not cool. It's not hip. Now, you have everybody wants to come here. I mean, the arenas are great. The venues are wonderful. You have people like Elton John who are taking up residence here, and Celine Dion, and the list goes on and on and on. And so the thoughts of actually doing it. I mean, this week the producers, is opened up here. The show, the producers, the Mel Brooks show. Phantom is here. It's so different. But they're here. They're stationary. Is that appetizing, appealing to you to be in a city like Las Vegas for a lengthy period of time? And travel?
It's interesting that you say that, because going back to your first point, when we first did it, I think it was in the 80s, I noticed that as I came into town, and I wasn't sure about playing Vegas then, whether it was the right thing for credibility, I suppose is the word. Yeah. And I saw that Neil Young was playing, and I thought, that's all right. It's okay, because he's kind of a leader, if it's Neil can do it. So that was one thing. And then, but I don't know whether you remember, but we used to have a deal with Caesars where we would play them a couple of times a year. And a couple of years before they built the Celine and showroom place, of course they knocked down the old one, but they actually came to us and put forward this idea of doing a permanent show, a spectacular kind of psychedelic show. And we were really considering it for a long time, but then things changed in Caesars. But it would still be an interesting idea, wouldn't it? I would quite fancy if they think there's any mileage in it.
Yeah, maybe War of the Worlds can.
Well, the War of the Worlds could. That's going to have a permanent show in China. Yeah, without me, I might add. But, sadly,
you don't dance.
I'd love to do it. Yeah, they're doing Australia and New Zealand without me because I've got Moody's commitments. I'm worried that they'll find somebody really good to play my part. As all musicians do.
So where do you go from Las Vegas?
We're in Palm Springs, then we go through to Phoenix, then we go through to into California, then we go across to New Mexico, and then into the Midwest, and up through Colorado actually first, and then into the Midwest.
And then back for some R&R in Europe.
Well, I'm back to go into the studio with this Isle of Wight thing and some business stuff, and then we'll be back out in the US in June.
You have a studio at your home?
I have a little setup there. I did have a studio at my house when I lived in a big house in London. I just live in a flat now. So I have a little kind of setup of keyboards, but I've got so many pals in local studios that I can go and use any time that I prefer to do that.
Okay. Hey, Justin, thank you very much.
Oh,
it's good to see
always
you again.
my pleasure. Lovely to be with you. My pleasure.
Lovely to see you again.